Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. Look, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, watch, comment, and share because this is not stopping until we make it stop. Now, Donald Trump is watching his MAGA base crack, and they are cracking. Even one of his most loyal allies, I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I can't believe I'm going to say something nice about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's turning on him, accusing him of hiding the Epstein files. Anybody even talking about the Epstein files and all the insanity going on? No. But Marjorie, she's even suggested that pushing for that release puts her life in danger. Let me show you what she posted. In it, she turns around and she says, I am not suicidal and one of the happiest, healthiest people you will meet. I have full faith in God and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. As a sinner, I am only saved through his grace and mercy. With that said, if something happens to me, I ask you all to find out which foreign government or powerful people would take heinous actions to stop the information from coming out. Not only about this issue, but because of the truth that I have been speaking. The people understand what I'm saying. And what is she talking about? She's talking about the Epstein files. Now, on my Mea Culpa podcast, I spoke with Charlie Sykes about how Trump's cover-up of the Epstein crimes and his assault on free speech are finally starting to backfire on him. Play the clip. There are strong opinions on various different topics.
Yes, right.
On various different issues of chaos that are right now fracturing our country. So, for example, you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I can't believe I actually agree with her on something, is adamant, along with Josh Hawley, that the Jeffrey Epstein files must be immediately released. And fortunately, Democrats had a major win in Arizona. So now the table has flipped. There's 218 votes. They have now gotten to the number of votes, assuming everybody holds the line, to force MAGA Mike Johnson to put that bill on the floor, demanding the release completely unredacted except for the names of the victims to Congress and to the public. That's just one. Then we can talk about a million different things, but even First Amendment. We saw Ted Cruz come out and tried to do his impersonation of a Brooklyn gangster. Terrible, by the way, Ted.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Jimmy Kimmel for a second.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's still obviously a big topic.
Yeah.
Kimmel returned to ABC, to his show, after a 6-day suspension. And that reignited debate over cancel culture versus free speech. From your vantage, was Kimmel's suspension an overreach motivated by politics, or do you think it was a defensible internal decision by ABC Disney?
I think it was a panic move by ABC Disney. I think that they heard what the FCC chair Brendan Carr said, and they said, oh my God, we have billions of dollars at stake here. We got to pull him, and then they began to see what the fallout was. Now I'm going to give them a little bit of credit later down the road, but I don't think they anticipated the kind of blowback they got from customers, from the entertainment industry, from people who, prominent voices. One of the things we've been lacking, Michael, in Trump 2.0 has been collective action, has been civil society pushing back and saying, hell no. That happened in this case. It did happen, and it clearly got Disney's attention. Now, I was on a cable show after Kimmel's monologue late the other night, and somebody was saying, well, actually, given that kind of pressure, Disney had no choice. And I disagreed. Disney always has a choice. All of these companies have a choice. All of these entities, all the universities, all the law firms have a choice. They have agency. And so the good news is that on more mature reflection, and certainly under pressure, Disney decided that they weren't going to completely bend the knee. Now, it's not over, because you still have Sinclair and Nexstar that are refusing to air Jimmy Kimmel. But for your listeners, if that felt like a win, it's because it was a win and maybe an indication of where we could go, but again, long road ahead of us.
Yeah. And as somebody who had their First Amendment constitutional right stripped from them, I was the first political prisoner ever held by my own country. I want my listeners to hear this because you've heard me say it before, but for those that haven't, I was the first political prisoner ever held by this country because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right. And imagine that, right? Thrown back in, went to solitary confinement, brought me up to a total of 51 days, abused, right? In a room, broken window, flies. It was 105 degrees in there, no ventilation. The toilet didn't work. The floor was filthy. The sink just barely dripped water. No pillow. No change of clothes. Imagine, right? You're only out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 15 minutes to take a fast shower. You don't even get phone privileges. This is a real problem. And this happened going back 5 years, 2020, when I filed that habeas corpus petition, which thank God for Alvin K. Hellestein, Southern District of New York, federal judge Alvin K. Hellestein, who turned around and stated emphatically that the actions of Bill Barr and the administration were retaliatory and for the purpose of harming my First Amendment constitutional right because I wanted to publish a book that was critical of President Trump. I warned everybody 5 years ago that I was just a litmus test. And I was fighting like a dog, going on every television station, speaking to every podcaster, doing documentaries, speaking to journalists, anybody that would listen. And it was a lot. I kept telling them my biggest fear and why I am doing what I am doing is because I don't want to see what happened to me ever happen to anyone ever again. Now, with all due respect to Jimmy Kimmel, and it was a violation as far as I'm concerned of his First Amendment right. Look, Jimmy Kimmel's been brutal to politicians, to presidents for the last 20 years, right? I mean, if you have thin skin, sure, it bothers the hell out of you. On the other hand, people always ask me, well, Ben Stiller, who happens to be a friend of mine, right, turned around. I've known Ben for like 25, 27 years. So, he turned around and he was like, what'd you think of my impersonation of you? I was like, oh, I can't wait to see you. So he goes, well, why? Are you angry at me? You angry at me? I was like, no. So he goes, no, seriously, what'd you think? I said, hey, it wasn't so good, right? I mean, it was a very weak attempt, but I appreciated, the thing. I mean, did I like it? To be honest, yeah, right? I made Saturday Night Live, but most people don't like it. Right. And I could understand Trump not liking the everyday bashing. Well, then maybe do something that you're not going to get bashed on. Maybe turn around and tell the ICE agents to take the mask off and stop grabbing people in the street. Stop going into hospitals and taking women right after they had a child. Maybe stop going to after the guy has open heart surgery, taking him and locking him up in an internment camp as well. Maybe turn around and stop federalizing the police or knock this stupid tariff shit off that costs consumers money because tariffs are paid by consumers, right? Consumers pay tariffs and tariffs are taxes. I mean, there's so many things that Trump can do if you don't want to get made fun of, right? But that's not what they do. And as far as I'm concerned here, it was the right thing for ABC Disney to do. I just don't think they did it for the right reason. They didn't do it to protect Jimmy Kimmel's First Amendment right. They did it because their bottom line was getting killed.
Yeah, I think that's true. But you know what? Who knows? Maybe they did decide.
I do. The numbers came out.
Well, see,
Charlie, the numbers came out
huge. Yeah.
10,000% increase in the number of individuals that canceled their subscription to ABC as well as to Hulu, ESPN, and so on. Basically, we, the American populace, the citizens, most probably Democrats, kicked ABC Disney right in the nuts with steel-tip boots.
So it works.
Said, it sure does. All right. And so I always say this, it is us who has the power, not them. But we have to be coordinated. We have to be unified.
Well, let's go back to your story, which I've heard before, but is horrifying to hear it from you. And, the whole point of a lot of what Trump does is to instill fear. And I think this is the key to understanding authoritarians is he doesn't have to lock everybody up. He has to get in your head and think, oh my God, if I say this, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to be thrown into a cell like Michael Cohen? Am I going to be fired like Jimmy Kimmel? Am I going to be sued like CBS
Michael
or
Cohen.
ABC?
He sued me for $500 million.
Right. So, I mean, and this is the point, and this is the fear, is that people internalize that, and they have this. The censor is not the jackbooted thug outside the door. The censor's in their head, and so every time that a company does the right thing for whatever reason, it perhaps provides a little bit of moral support to the people, again, as you point out, who now realize you do have the power. Other companies are going to look at it and say, okay, maybe, it is not the smartest thing to do to cave in to Donald Trump. And it is that collective action. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get your take on this. As you know, even before Kimmel's show aired, he put out this social media bleat where he's clearly threatening ABC. He's referencing the fact that the last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. And by the way, just a reminder that paying him off does not buy you safety. I think he's going to follow through on his threats because he cannot allow what happened with Disney to inspire other people to say, hey, maybe the emperor has no clothes. Maybe in fact he doesn't. Yeah.
You're right, Charlie. In that text post that he put out on Truth Social, what he did is he implied that reinstating Jimmy Kimmel, because they told him, the first line is like, oh, they told me that it was canceled, amounted to, in his opinion, this is all his. This is all his determination.
Yeah, this is his confession.
Reinstating Kimmel amounted to an illegal campaign contribution.
Yeah.
Campaign finance violation.
Bullshit.
And he knows all about it because that was one of the charges that was brought against me. And he knows my case very, very well.
Yeah, yeah.
If he follows through, and I'm with you, I guarantee you that they're going to. There's no doubt in my mind. Let me be very clear about Donald Trump. And I know Donald Trump better than than any human being should know another human being. If you punch Trump, or he perceives it that you punched him, he's going to come at you 10 times harder.
Right. He said that.
And right now, Trump, as president of the United States of America, controls all the levers of power. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.